autonomy enrages people. And it enrages a lot of people in a way that they don't even know why they're enraged. They don't know why they're triggered. They don't know deep down. What is up, people? A very warm welcome back or to another video. For those of you who are both old and new around here in this space, I'm super grateful to have you come join us. If you've ever been in a situation with either friends, family, work colleagues, and you know for a fact that some Karen has literally gone out of their way to try and make you look so small, make you feel stupid, make you feel invalid, make you feel just shit about yourself because of who you are, what your life choices are, what you've decided to do and not do in your life. I'm going to be going into how to deal with these people, but also some funky little comebacks that I've learned the long way and the hard way, so you don't have to. So firstly, let's set the scene. You're having a perfectly normal conversation with a group of either your friends, your family, your work colleagues. You could be talking about anything from your hobbies, your interests, your favorite food, where you've recently been on holiday, where you're thinking of going on holiday, and someone just comes out with, are you still single? Or don't you have any kids yet? Are you not planning to have any kids? But when are you going to have kids? But what about your husband? And they say it as if it's some sort of character flaw. They're almost kind of doing this condescending pat on the back, like, oh, you're such a cute little rebel. Now, we all know that our behaviors, being child-free and living autonomously, looks rebellious to the rest of the world. Even though we're not going out of our way to be rebellious, the rest of the world assumes that we're just difficult or rebellious or we're doing it for attention, which we all know deep down is not the point and has nothing to do with it. We're simply just living our own lifestyles on our own term. But what these people like to do is they like to come forward into a conversation in a bid to try and make you feel small, in a bid to try and make you doubt your decisions, and a bid to try and make you feel small about yourself with what I call this kind of condescending concern, if you will, where they come at it from a point of, but I'm just concerned about you. Aren't you lonely? But don't you want a family? And I certainly heard this growing up. Now, the condescending concern, that's Theo in the background. The condescending concern that I used to get is like, but don't you want a husband? But don't you want to get married? But don't you want someone to love you unconditionally? It was always this kind of, but don't you want, when actually I've already told you what I want and don't want. You've just chosen not to listen. Because a lot of people who try and belittle you, they've got this special ability, which I call like selective hearing, where they just hear the bits that they want to hear and they choose to ignore the important parts. It's important to understand why people come from this standpoint and why people do and say the things that they do and say. They're trying to see if they can get under your skin. They're trying to see if they can move you somehow or convince you somehow or sway you or change your mind. They're trying to see if you are going to shrink and be as small as possible for their comfort, because ultimately the only reason they've come at you from this standpoint and they're even trying to make you feel so small in the first place is because your autonomy and your lack of interest in following the life script or the status quo has triggered something in them that has made them feel deeply uncomfortable and made them question their own life choices. Deep down, they're starting to think, oh shit, I actually had a choice too, and I didn't think I had one. And I need you to really understand that this whole belittling is because deep down that person is triggered. Deep down that person has felt a little bit uncomfortable or very uncomfortable around you, because ultimately they're like, oh shit, this person is challenging my entire existence, my entire life choices, and suddenly I feel really shit about it. But this condescending concern you'll find with religious people. It doesn't take them long to start talking about God or Jesus or their beliefs or when they pray or how they go to church, because that's their whole identity. But they will definitely use this as a way to try and make you start doubting yourself. It's no different to gaslighting or any kind of mental manipulation or abuse. My all-time favorite memory, my old Mormon friends that I had years ago, is when she used to say to me, I'm praying for you. They are just the most batshit crazy thing that I think I've ever heard in my entire existence. And the funniest thing to this date, that someone said to me in the bid to try and make me feel stupid, but actually what it's done is it's just cemented my belief, or lack of belief, if you will, of any faith or God or anything like that. So actually the whole thing backfired. Even if you've been to university, got a master's degree, got a doctorate degree, aced law school, aced medical school, traveled solo, gone to the moon and back, joined NASA, it doesn't matter, because it doesn't compare to the ultimate success in society's eyes, which is a woman is only successful if she's doing her duty and getting married and giving us kids. When I was in my early 20s, I was a competitive dancer. It didn't matter how many dance competitions I won. Nobody really cared. Like, they'd be like, oh yeah, well done. Anyway, are you dating anyone? So it would always revert back. It doesn't matter how many conversations I would be in where I wanted to talk to people about where I traveled on holiday, where I'd booked to go on holiday, you know, how many dance competitions I won or I took part in. It didn't matter, because ultimately the conversation always came back to base. It was always, have you got a boyfriend? Are you seeing someone? Aren't you lonely? There are two main ways to deal with these kinds of people. And the first one you might already be doing anyway, and that is complete silence. Just let them sit in their silence for a moment. Because sooner or later, it's going to get really fucking awkward for them. And they're going to start being like, and stumbling on their words. So silence, and if you can, and if you're comfortable doing so, a nice solid eye contact, just stare. That usually makes people incredibly uncomfortable. Another really good way to deal with people who try to belittle you is by asking them where they thought they were going with that question. So you can say it in your own way. I would strongly suggest that you use a response in a tone that suits you and your persona. But I say something along the lines of, what do you mean by that? And again, hold the eye contact if you're comfortable doing so. Where were you going with that question? What were you hoping to gain from asking that question? I'm just really intrigued. And now I'm a very sarcastic person, so I will literally bury this person if they were to come at me from this stance of trying to make me look stupid and trying to make me feel small, especially if it was in front of other people. Or another sentence you could use is, that's a really interesting way to change the whole conversation. What were you hoping to gain? I've also stopped giving people benefit of the doubt. Now, sometimes some people might watch this and be like, oh, maybe they didn't mean it like that. And trust me, I've made this excuse with so many people before, where I've been like, oh, they didn't mean it. They just said something out of line, and I've given them the benefit of the doubt. I don't do that anymore. If we're all adults here, you know perfectly well what you're doing. You know perfectly well that the sentence is laced with malice, in which case you're not getting the benefit of the doubt. Every single time I've given someone the benefit of the doubt, I'm the one who's been stung at the end. I've got to a point in my life where I simply just mirror people or do a technique that I call return to sender, where basically someone gets a taste of their own medicine. And 99.999% of the time, they don't like the taste of their own medicine. So they're more than happy to serve it to somebody else. But as soon as you do it back to them, they go wildly batshit crazy, because suddenly they're like, why are you treating me like this? Because they believe in their heads that what they're asking is actually an innocent comment or an innocent question. Now, it might seem innocent when it's written on paper, but we all know tone, body language, where people are coming from. We all know people's intentions. Like I said before, we're all adults here. We know how to behave. We know right from wrong. Think of it this way. What do all of the following categories have in common? Child-free people, single women who don't want to settle down or get married, LGBTQIA community, atheists. What do we all have in common? We all have autonomy. We all have the courage to live life the exact way we want. And when I mention these groups of people, I'm not saying that we're exempt from, struggling, or we're exempt from mental health issues. Autonomy enrages people. And it enrages a lot of people in a way that they don't even know why they're enraged. They don't know why they're triggered. They don't know deep down, because most of these people who are upset by other people's life choices don't even have the brain power to look inwards and self-reflect. They're consistently looking around them and hoping that the whole world changes and caters to them instead of doing the inner reflective work themselves. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give this video a massive thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next video.